for Motorhome on Air.
Welcome to episode 23.
Whee!
We're recording July 10th at 9:54 p.m. Eastern.
Earlier than usual. But not early enough.
Yeah.
Never early enough.
Right on time.
I get off, take care of the dogs, and go to bed normally.
Yep.
Oh, well.
When I am done, I will be going out to the motorhome.
What are your goals?
To at least get the plumbing finished for the shower and the sports put in.
Is that a lot?
But before we delve too far in, what is in your cup?
I went brave with some limoncello and a mixer thing we bought that neither one of us had tried. We've had it for months. It's called elderberry. It's from Fever Tree, which I love to drink.
Elderberry or elderflower?
Oh, elderflower.
Yeah, elderflower tonic water.
Yeah, which normally we buy these Fever Trees and we drink them straight. They're so good. It's really like a less sugar, somewhere between like a soda and a sparkling water. Just something like right down the middle, perfect little bubbles, all that great stuff. I took a sip of this one and was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It tastes like straight grapefruit that tastes like licking a grapefruit. Like straight grapefruit, no sugar, nothing. Like I don't know what I expected from elderberry, but it wasn't that.
Elderflower.
Mm-hmm. So I added sugar to it.
I'm assuming there's a difference.
One's a berry, one's a flower.
At a minimum.
Yeah, I don't think elderberries are even that good from what I know. So, I don't know.
One of them apparently tastes like grapefruit.
The flower, which I guess don't eat that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen one.
Not that grapefruit isn't good when you're expecting it.
Well, then I feel like grapefruit juice just tastes different for some reason. Like, I will drink straight grapefruit juice, no sugar. Mm-hmm. This tasted like what you think an unripe grapefruit tastes like. Like, it was so bitter and sour, but still had the same flavor profile. Mm-hmm. Very strange. What do you have? Did you make something?
Very adventurous.
Oh, boy.
4 Roses bourbon and Coke.
Yeah?
Yep.
Is it good? It's in a plastic cup. Does that make it better?
Yep. It's in a, where is it?
Harley?
Stinger Harley Davidson cup.
Which one's Stinger?
71 and 18.
Oh, Medina.
Yep.
Ish.
Yep. Got this on a poker run.
I was going to say, I don't remember you getting that.
At least I think it was some type of ride. I believe it was a poker run.
Nobody needs mouth noises, so I'll move the microphone. You can start rambling about something.
Well.
Oh, God, that's
it was
strong.
a heavy pour. That's why.
That's a big cup, too.
I brought down the rest of the Coca-Cola as I drink this down, diluted a bit.
Oh my God. It's like, I like the flavor profile of like whiskey and Coke, but that's like
whiskey.
It's like LaCroix version of a whiskey and Coke. It's like it sat next to a bottle of Coke.
Yep.
Good thing you put a lot of ice in there.
Yep.
Good job. All right. So plumbing. How long do you think that's going to take you?
Not real long.
Good. I'm glad.
Couple cuts, couple crimps. It's all pecs. This is my first time really working with pecs.
I had no idea who he was.
Pecs.
Yeah. I'm familiar with like some PVC things like flax and Schedule 40. Like if you use the basic terms.
Yep.
Is PEX just used for water? Is that why they're red and blue?
They also make white and then orange, which I don't know what the purpose of orange is, but orange I think is only available in PEX A because apparently there's 2 different types of PEX, PEX A and PEX B. That was a small rabbit hole I went down. But most of my plumbing experience has been copper or the pool world where everything's PVC. With the
copper sounds heavy and expensive.
Yeah.
Well, weight isn't really an issue for us.
Well, I mean, to some extent. But the only other thing in the pool world is poly.
Poly?
Yeah, black poly pipe.
Oh, I don't think I'm familiar with that.
It's not ABS. Comes in a roll, typically.
Like the flex pipe? Like the flex hose?
Not the flexible PVC. Black poly, at least in this area, was used for in-ground plumbing lines. But yeah, so PEX has been pretty fantastic to work with.
So, is that sarcasm?
No, I'm serious. It's very easy.
Why do you like it? Just because it's plastic and it cuts easy and it's smaller? Because it's only like ½ inch or something.
Yeah, well, everything just fits together nicely. And you can crimp. You can attach the hose to the fitting a few different ways. But I went with they call them, I think, crimp clamps, but they're ear clamps. And it's just quick and easy and clean. And
good.
As much as I'm fine with gluing PVC, like there's a fine line between making sure you have enough glue in the joint and dripping. So,
yep.
Yep, it's just clean. But yeah, so a couple cuts, a couple fittings.
So how do you feel about things?
In.
Well, I guess like what have we gotten done since 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah, so we did miss a week.
Because we were so busy on the camper.
Yep.
No, I was on a work trip too.
Also,
for a lot of it. For 4 or 5 days or something.
No, I thought that was...
That was 2 weeks ago.
That was before the last one.
Oh.
But we have bathroom sink plumbing is in.
First, you had to take all the walls down. Like first, you had to take.
Did we have that down before the last episode?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We had just bought it. I don't think we touched anything, and so
I'm going to pictures to check.
Okay.
You keep talking.
We had to take bunks out, which were just like 2x4, basically dog beds. Took those out, took walls down, and I feel like a large sum of time was just trying to figure out what all the parts you needed.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, we are lucky because everything is fairly standardized. We could just buy it at a hardware store. We didn't. I don't know what RVs.
Okay, so we had not torn it out yet because I took pictures.
I know.
It was 2 days after the last one dropped.
We were still naive.
Yeah.
Excited. But everything is pretty standardized. I don't know what RVs are, but everything that we've been able to buy, with a few exceptions, we've been able to get at Menards.
Yeah, I mean, most of it is residential building materials, with the exception of trying to think through the realities of it's attached to a structure that's going to be bouncing down the road, and also weight within reason.
You say weight within reason, but I don't feel like we have any real.
We don't have limitations, but it's more of a, if you build the whole thing out of lead, it's going to go slow and use a bunch of gas.
Yeah, I guess so, but I don't feel like that's something we've had to be very intentional about.
Not
just in what we're doing.
Everything's
been wood and plastic. I mean, we did buy a porcelain toilet. Still a camping toilet.
We did. Yeah, so RV toilet. It's going to be RV shower, like control valve.
But we bought a residential shower base.
Yep. RV version of a residential shower head just because it has the built-in water pause feature. Residential sink, even though it's tiny.
Itty bitty.
Itty bitty. It is, 9 by 16 rectangle. And the faucet doesn't go the direction you think it does.
I thought it was 8. But yeah, either way, like, think about
it's
like a sheet of paper.
By like 15.9 or something.
It's like a sheet of paper.
Yeah. Kept the flooring for now.
Yeah, I think the flooring is fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the flooring's really nice. He's got like a, vinyl hardwood or something.
Yeah. But the wood paneling that was in the former room that was originally going to be a bathroom, but then was turned into a bunk room for their small kids, which now has been deconstructed.
Yeah. And
is now being turned into a bathroom. Got all the wood paneling off the walls, got the bunks ripped out.
Because the paneling, the main thing with that was, you need to take it out to get access to the plumbing.
To make it easier, yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted to put in some walls that are a little more water resilient. Because the other stuff they had was like, I don't even know if it's finished at all. Like, it doesn't have any coating on it. I mean, it's not like plywood. It's like polished.
It was like pine beadboard, but
I have
like
no idea what you would call it. It's definitely like it was made for walls and everything like that. Like you could wipe it down with a cloth if you needed to. So it's not like super.
Like we could have like urethaned it, and it probably would have been fine.
Probably what's under knotty pine, kind of.
Yeah, but it was the only portion of it that was put together with nails instead of screws.
Which was how fun to get off?
oh so fun.
Yeah. That's when you start, like,
I took
using swearing in order to, like, make things work better.
Well, what cracked me up was, whenever I was pulling the one trim board off, it had brad nails in it that were, 3 inches long?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Ridiculous. And I sent it to...
For it being, like, a 1/4 inch thickness to a 2x4,
Yeah.
it was at least 2 inches.
Yeah. But I sent a picture to Jerry.
Yeah.
And I was like, this makes sense, right? And he's like, well, that was the smallest nail he could fit in his framing nailer.
Yeah, Jerry worked at a hardware store in high school.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. So that was probably one of the hardest, most annoying things I would say would be taking those walls down so far.
Yeah. So progress so far. Let's see. Ran a new light.
Oh yeah, another thing that gave you take the panels down in order to get access to the electricity as well as the plumbing.
Again,
so we could figure out.
We could have done it without it.
They had like a sconce in there, kind of.
Yeah.
Which worked great for the setup that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, us taking the bunks out, it was removing like 80 to 90% of the volume in that room and just completely changed the function. So he bought like a tube. Like an LED tube situation, which I think is going to look really good when we get the walls up white. Yep. And you've got the sink pretty much ready to go. You split the plumbing off of the kitchen sink, which is on the other side of that wall, so that went well.
Sink. Yeah, kitchen sink and bathroom sink are back to back. So I'll only have one shared drain going out through the floor for those. The supply side is teed off for both of those.
You haven't done anything really with the hardware in there yet. I mean, you've bought stuff, but you haven't really had to modify.
As far as?
I don't know. Like in that little storage compartment of like electric and stuff. Did you buy a new board?
The new, like...
circuit board situation?
No.
Oh.
Not yet. So electric modifications will be coming to some extent. But got one section of paneling up, vapor barrier partially installed on one wall. Gonna get the paneling done by this weekend in the bathroom, and ideally shower finished. Or at least mostly so. To some extent, some of the drains are almost easier to install once the black tank is in place. I don't know if we had decided by last podcast. So at some point, it may get a separate gray tank, but for ease of use, it's just going to have a single combined tank for black water and gray water.
Grayish tank.
Yeah,
blackish.
I mean, it's a black water tank. That was just easier. Everything's under one location, short runs into the tank, and decided to make it easy on ourselves for now. At some point, I'll put a level checking system on it, but 40-gallon freshwater tank was already installed, so went with a 52-gallon blackwater tank. So as long as we don't bring in excessive amounts of outside water,
should be good.
We should not overload the black tank before we're out of fresh water.
I wonder if there's a way to calculate how many gallons our shower takes.
Yep. You can set a timer, and that shower head uses 1.8 gallons per minute.
I wonder if we should do a dry run. Or wet run. It's not dry.
Well, I figure, get the shower done just so it's done. Whether we use it significantly at vintage days will be a different story.
Depends on how much it rains.
Yeah.
Depends on how many times I want to wash my hair.
Yeah. As far as electric goes, inverter has been ordered. The battery's been ordered. Went with a 300 amp hour, 12 volt lithium iron phosphate battery. And that should give us enough. I've been metering the electric on it. And we've been keeping it cooled to 68-ish or so overnight.
Pretty chilly.
Yeah, and it's only been using around 1.2 to, I think the most I saw was 1.4 kilowatt hours overnight. So could probably get away with 150 to 200 amp hours, but wanted a little buffer there. Ordered a generator today.
Woohoo.
we have a generator that we bought like for house backup stuff, but
How does the new
it's
one
not
compare
super
to that
quiet.
one? Because I know
This one's quieter.
Well, I knew that. That was
Yeah.
a huge priority.
That and
The other one probably holds more gas, doesn't it?
it does. And the other one, I'm pretty sure, produces 240 volt AC versus most of the inverter style generators only do 120 volts AC.
Are we going to be able to run our house off of that if we get rid of the other one?
Anything that's not 240.
Well, usually we just did
whatever you
like
wanna call it.
freezer, fridge, space heater.
Yep,
let's say.
that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, sump pump's fine.
Just trying to consolidate in my head.
Yeah. I don't know about our furnace fan though.
I don't think we ever ran the furnace.
We did the one time whenever we backfed it in.
Oh.
So
maybe those lottery tickets I bought yesterday will hit us big and we can buy an all-home generator.
if you hit a lottery ticket, we're just going to go buy a new motorhome to take to Vintage Days.
I think that drawing is happening like right now.
I'm going to cross my fingers.
I thought you were enjoying the process.
I am. I really am enjoying the process. I wish I had more time.
Yeah. If it would have been a week later, there's no way we would have been able to do it.
Yeah, like if we had purchased it a week later.
Yeah.
As far as the black tank mounts go, I had thought through probably 3 different versions of mounts and halfway drew up one of them and decided that in benefit of my mental state, with the lack of time and amount of work still ahead, I stopped over at Smith Racing and Off-Road and Racing. I always forget which way it goes.
Well, someone's looking
Byron.
for them, they can find them. We're here down here in South Akron, so if you're looking, you used him for your rims on your X5,
tires and wheels.
right?
Yeah, Smith Racing and Off-Road. Byron over there is awesome. Does some fabrication. Had him rebuild a trailer at work.
We should see if he wants to sponsor us.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll see great value in
Well,
his
he said he was
contribution.
following along the build on Instagram, so he's like, oh boy.
Tell him we shout outed him.
Yeah.
Make him listen to at least one.
Yeah. So he's going to handle the black tank mount for me. So I won't have to deal with that and stress about positioning and all that fun stuff.
Is he familiar with those stuff?
Enough.
Okay. Probably more than we are.
I talked
then,
him
it
through
sounds
the
like.
mounting process and sent him a dimensional drawing, and we game planned it because I took pictures this morning before I left.
Nothing like telling your vendor how to bend.
Well, no, it was more of a brainstorming session of like, I think this is a way. What do you think? And kind of came to a...
It's pretty basic,
Yeah.
right? It's just like brackets and...
Yeah, most of it is... if I did it, I don't have tanks for my welder, so it'd be getting done in stick or flux core, and he's probably going to MIG or TIG it, and he's got like nice work area.
And his stuff's all primed up. You haven't used yours in a while, and
Yeah.
he's got all the supplies.
And he's going to bang it out in probably a couple hours, and again, I don't have to stress about it, which is nice.
True.
Let's see, you have in here regrets or least favorite / most favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long we
what?
need to like talk about this so far in the project. You have any major regrets?
Not being independently wealthy.
Yeah, it's our parents' fault, really. Let's blame them.
Not
I would
yet.
say least favorite has probably been ripping those walls out, right? You were pretty...
No.
No?
Least favorite was drilling the first hole through the like hull of the truck.
Oh.
I've drilled 3 of the 5 holes that will have to be drilled through the wall or the floor. That whole process mentally was excruciating to me.
Just because you were drilling through the wall?
Yes, and then the floor. And
Yeah.
the whole like, this has to be in the right spot.
Or else.
Yeah, or it's going to look jank.
Or
and
else we're getting a breeze.
we've got to make sure it's sealed well, or else all that fun stuff. Forgot that part. Got the vent line and vents in for the black tank. Didn't want to go out the roof.
Did you put those on Instagram? Because I did a great job caulking those.
I don't think I took a picture of them
You
yet.
probably should.
We will.
Make sure you tag me. Shout out.
I will.
Let everyone know I have skills because people think
You
I'm
don't.
just the city girl, and that's not who I am at all.
No.
I know more than city boys, so
Yes. We went with, so I didn't want to go out the roof because the roof's like nice. I'm assuming aluminum up there.
Yeah,
Metal.
no leaks. That's all that matters.
Hasn't been touched. Don't want to promote issues. So decided to do a real high exit on the side. And instead of doing like a normal RV style vent that's like plastic and half sketch, went with some stainless marine style vents that are recessed. Mm-hmm. And once we got them up, I did 2 of them just to make sure they're both kind of tied into the same 1.5-inch line, but each one is like 5/8 tubing running into it. They look like eyes, so we're gonna add a smile and come up with a name.
Smirk.
Yeah.
Name it after our dog or something.
Yeah, that was probably least favorite part so far.
Favorite part? Not yet. It'll be being done.
Yeah, I mean, I will be very excited whenever the electric system is set up the way I want it.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to build it in a way that's future-proofed to where eventually we can add solar. Mm-hmm. And it will be, our only limitation at that point will be water.
Not sunlight.
Yeah, well, sure.
I think you get solar power even when it's cloudy, so you should be good.
Yeah.
And then if you had to pick a sponsor for this project, who would be the biggest?
Menards at this point.
Do you know how much money I sent to them in rebates the other day? And that doesn't, not including today.
Yes.
It's 11% of what we've spent money on.
So, not including today's. You
Correct.
want me to guess what the rebate
what
amount?
The 11% rebate was.
What the 11% rebate was. $130.
161.
I was close. Yep, I knew it was up there.
So next month you can buy yourself something nice.
Yeah,
we get the rebate in. Make sure you're setting your Menards rebate in.
Food purchased at Menards with my rebate.
You should go buy $161 worth of
ramen,
cheese puffs, and barbecue sauce.
How I will be surviving post vintage days.
I buy the groceries. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And we also, I did stain the outside of it.
Oh,
I've done things too.
I forgot about that. Yes.
I know. I was waiting for
you
you
stained the whole back. Yeah. It looks phenomenal.
It's true. Thank you.
We bought some.
Thank goodness I went to art school so I could spend $30 and paint the back of this like a pro.
Yeah. You started working on the cabinets.
It's true. Finding paint for that wasn't easy. They kind of reject everything, so it must be an oil-based something or other that they used.
Yeah, it was very odd.
And I found some like all-purpose, like, I don't know. It's supposed to be paint. I guess it kind of reminds me of chalk paint, like that hype that was like no prep, and it cost more, but literally no prep. I wasn't going to paint these cabinets if there was prep. That's all there is to it.
It is diluted enough, and enough
this
Coke
is
has been added.
Flimsy cup. This is sketch AF.
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all your ice is melted and your cup is sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so honestly, I'll be excited to see what they look like because they are currently like a cobalt blue, which was accidental. So bless her soul. Sorry about that. Like she went to Lowe's, I guess, and bought stain that was miscolored by a inept Lowe's employee. But it's like a flat black and it doesn't hide the grain, which I was worried about because when you put paint on and it hides the grain, it just looks cheap. To me, I'm kind of
Sometimes
picky.
It depends on how, like, there's that weird, it's like the uncanny valley with like CGI stuff where it's like,
I just think it looks thick. It looks like a craft project. It doesn't look like professional anymore. I don't know.
Well, it either has to be so thick that there's no surface variation.
Yeah, so it's like modern almost. Yeah.
Or you need to see the grain. It's the weird in-between place.
Yeah, these are very traditional looking, like mediocre cabinets. So you can still see the grain, and there's no prep. And honestly, first coat's pretty good, but I'm going to go through, do a second one, and I'll have the cabinets done here shortly.
Yeah.
Or at least the top part of the cabinets. It's aesthetics, not needed for function. It's kind of a nice to have, but if there's nothing else I can do, I might as well be doing something.
Yeah. You picked up a Woozoo fan.
Woozoo. Everyone needs to know. So there's a cult-like following at them on the Costco membership that I belong. No, the Costco Facebook group that I belong to, there's a huge following, but ours we actually got at Best Buy. You can buy them other places because we had rewards points. Heck of a little thing.
I was not aware of that.
Oh, aware of what?
Where it came from.
Oh, really?
I assumed it was Costco.
No, I didn't order from Costco. It was about $45 from Costco, or it was like $53. It was on sale at Best Buy, and I had like $20 of Best Buy rewards. So I just kind of bit the bullet there. It got delivered like next day free. Yeah. So it swivels both pans and tilts.
Yep.
Would be the correct terminology for that. So the base will actually swivel left to right, and then its head goes up and down.
Yes, but like automated.
Yes. Like
it articulates automatically up and down, left or right, or both at the same time, where it goes in this like wild circle thing.
But it's two things are moving in different directions. I didn't realize that when I watched the video online. I was like, oh my gosh, it like moves its head in circles, but that's not really what's happening. The base is moving, and the head is moving, and it's a killer little thing. It's probably like less than 12 by 12 inches, and I don't know how the air feels cold that it blows out, but it just does. It's built up to the height.
It moves a ton of air for how quiet it is until you really crank it up. But once you crank it up to the point that it's making noise, it is hustling some air through there.
Yeah, and it's not loud. There's actually a size smaller. So there's a size smaller and a size bigger one that's like on like a pedestal like type fan. It's like $100. But there's also a small personal fan that I'm assuming just like oscillates maybe. And maybe we'll get one of those for up in the loft area or something.
Yeah.
All right. Have we covered the camper?
I think for now.
We're giving tours at Vintage Days.
Yeah. Stop by.
If I go to Costco, we may also have refreshments.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
We use a special word.
If you have not followed, I'm pretty sure we've mentioned him before. Garrett Peterson, whose Instagram handle is at dumrush. That's DUM_RUSH. He rode a 50cc initially pink scooter. I say initially because I think at some point the engine locked up and he put a bigger engine in it. I think I mentioned that it was going to the Hall
of Fame?
No, it went to a museum. Tintic, maybe?
Motorcycle
museum. It went to a motorcycle museum. I think it's somewhere in the Southwest, like Arizona maybe. But that's not why I'm bringing him up. He has spent the past year or two building a shovelhead chopper that is a fantastic shade of purple.
Is he retired?
What do you mean retired?
Well, he has apparently a lot of time to just ride bikes.
You went to his Instagram?
I was just there, and everything he does is reels. So kudos to that, because people are afraid of reels, and this guy has a ton of them.
I mean, if he is, he's retired exceptionally young. Because if I had to guess, he's like our age.
He's just... All right, let's see how many followers this guy has.
Not enough.
I cannot seem to get things to open.
Well, you're pulling that up.
Dumb_rush. DUM_rush is his handle. 14.5 thousand followers. And let's see how often he posts. That one's 5 hours ago and July 2nd. So every couple of days he's checking in.
A bunch of stories as well.
Oh, okay.
But so I believe the plan is to go around the world.
Oh.
Right now he's in the UK. And has just been bopping around there.
Bopping.
It cracks me up some of the places. Like, he just finds random places to camp. The one night he went to a dive bar, and it turns out the bar owned like this space next door that wasn't being used. So it was like a storefront he slept in the one night with his bike. He's already had clutch issues. We're like a week or two into this journey. As you can imagine, on a shovelhead chopper, I'm sure there will be mechanical adventures ahead.
Oof.
Yeah.
Not adventures anyone wants to has.
But if you're not following him on Instagram, and it sounds interesting, definitely go follow him. I don't know, let's say spectacular events unfold. We'll probably bring them up. But it's been fun to watch.
Roster to check in.
It's been fun to watch so far. Let me get this episode number. Episode 580 of the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast. It is titled, What's in Neil's Noodle? The best part about working on the motorhome so far is the amount of time I've had to catch up on podcasts, which is great because I've not had in months time to listen to all my podcasts. So they got into a discussion about neurodivergent people and motorcycling, and their what at least Neil over there thinks is the large amount or overrepresentation of neurodivergent people in motorcycling. You listened to it.
I did.
I guess I kind of want to hear your take before I give my take.
I guess it was interesting to hear it from a perspective that's beyond, like, get on the bike, because I would consider myself, like, very neurotypical. And
Yep.
so to hear things explained in a way, because this is something we've had to work on, is, like, communicating our differences on a psychological aspect of, like, our personal experiences and why we do things a certain way or why we feel a certain way, or, you know, like, behavior analysis of ourselves.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
You're like aggressively neurotypical.
I'm like so logical it hurts. Is that what you mean?
No. Like, I'm a logical person.
Uh-huh.
I'm an analytical person. But like, I don't think it was like over the past few years, I've realized more about myself. One, I should probably go get diagnosed. I accept myself for who I am and the way I think, and I enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I think like whether or not you need a diagnosis depends on somewhat of what you want to do with it. So something else I wanted to flag to you, but forgot to. A friend of ours from our tech conference who had tragedy in his family due to mental health illness, you know who I'm talking about, called out, and not in an aggressive way, but wanted to make sure that people aren't self-diagnosing because it's diluting those who are diagnosed. It dilutes the seriousness of it. And same with like eating disorders and anything else, like self-diagnosing, but also there's the flip of the coin that there's nothing wrong with it if you're just using the tendencies and the like survival tactics to improving your lifestyle. Plus, American health system is completely broken and stupid and expensive. So like having a diagnosis can be an example of financial privilege.
Yeah.
So like as long as you're using that kind of like self-diagnosis as not like a term to explain behavioral issues and just like personality, like I can't remember the terminology he specifically used, but like neurodivergency does not equal like personality disorders. Like it's not the same thing. So I just kind of wanted to like disclaim that like you are relating to it and like a subtle self-diagnosis, but with the intention of finding ways that help, number one, you communicate. I don't want to say cope because it's not necessarily just,
not just communicate. Like I think I'm a fairly
how you process things too.
It's more of a like me managing myself mentally to some extent. Like my time management sucks. I'm aware of that. 100%. I enjoy the fact that I excessively hyper-focus on stuff, but sometimes it's to my detriment. It's not, and I'm trying to become more aware of that.
And it's not about being on, like, the thing you don't hyper-focus on is on being on time.
Yep.
But
time blindness is my life.
Yeah. But I think if you use those self-diagnoses, or at least that relatability, to find ways to better make it through life or lean into things that like kind of almost understanding yourself, it almost validates how you feel to an extent. It's just being like, oh, like I'm not alone and like there's a reason for it. It creates a level of acceptance within yourself too, of just being like, okay, like, because me compared to you is like extremely different. We have like completely opposite problems and or differences. I don't know if I want to consider them problems technically, but when you have a common goal and you approach them in completely opposite ways, they can become problems.
Sometimes.
But if knowing that there's someone you can, like a title you can lean on and resources you can use to improve your quality of life and for me to understand your brain better, it's like, well, why not? Like, sure, like a diagnosis is cool, but unless you're going to go on meds or pursue some sort of like CBA, like cognitive behavior therapy or something like that, it's kind of like, is there a point? I don't know. Like, it just depends on whether or not it would give you personally closure or not.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not you have a proper diagnosis, like if you identify with certain symptoms and you can use coping methods to handle those symptoms, whether you're like actually labeled or not, what's it matter?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too that like we joke, you know, for around certain people, they're like your people, because like in the tech world, it also sways very neurodivergent. Like we had a meeting a couple months ago with our tech conference people, and I was like, I am the only neurotypical person in this room. But there was like 20 people there, so the fact that you're even thinking about it.
No, I'm trying to think of how many people I would consider neurotypical.
Oh, okay. There's probably a handful.
Yeah, I'd say about a handful.
But which is fine, but recognizing that gives me a level of understanding on how to like communicate with people. It doesn't have anything to do with like actual differences. Yeah. Like none of that matters. In fact, it's great that we're different because we've used that as a level of like healthy accountability. We see those things and it's like, oh, I'm constantly calling people out on their inability to track time in a very nice way though. Like I said, we're better than family there because it's just a healthy working environment. But like I said, it helps me if someone says, hey, I'm ADHD, like, just so you know, like, I'm going to squirrel on you a few times. I'm like, okay, great, fine. Like, as long as I know that it's because that's who you are and it's not because you're losing interest in what I say, it gives me much better level of understanding about why you're doing it. Yeah. And I will take less offense to the fact you're constantly changing the subject and losing eye contact. Like, okay, fine. Like, sure. At least I knew that going into it, we can still get stuff done. Yeah. So I guess, like, hearing why they associated with it. So like, in the podcast, looping back around. Yep. And I don't know the names of everyone because I forget. I remembered a while ago. But like,
do you need me to run down a list?
Give me a couple. If you know a couple, if there's like.
So the ones we met at Vintage Days.
Yes.
Were John, also known as Stumpy John.
Oh, okay.
Naked Jim. And Liza.
Okay.
And then Neil.
I can picture them in my head as you say that.
Yeah. And then Neil was the one who started the topic, hence the title, What's in Neil's Needle?
And it's hard, too, because I don't see them. I don't watch podcasts on YouTube. I only listen to them. Yep. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of like reading a book. You get to picture people in your head.
I wonder if they have a video version.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Are you just saying that because I can picture them in my head, and I didn't really know that I knew three of them. Yeah. I only know that I knew her. Yeah. What was her name again?
Liza.
Oh, that's so pretty. And it just doesn't stick with me. Yeah. I don't know anyone else named that. Yeah. All right.
Liza with the sidecar.
And she had the unicorn helmet.
Yes.
That's what I remember. Yeah. So hearing her explain why she liked it makes sense as to like, oh, why you like it. Because I guess, did you associate with her? Did you like feel like what she was saying? And
I associated with a couple people's positions on it, but I want you to go through your whole analysis and then I want to brain dump my side.
Okay, so she spoke about how it gives her something to focus on. So she's got all of this, like, let's call it like erratic energy normally. So like if you're in an environment, I don't want to say you're necessarily like overstimulated, but you like properly spread your energy throughout the multiple tasks and get nothing done. As compared when like she's on the road, she's got like hyper focus, one thing that matters, literally one thing that matters and nothing else. Like, and she gets to like turn her brain off essentially, not in like an unhealthy way, but like turn parts of her brain off that normally like are very loud. For me, that's a complete opposite when I'm on a bike. Like when I'm not on a bike, I'm like, my feet are on the ground. All I have to worry about is pretty much nothing. Like no one's going to crash into me. There's nothing moving around me. I am as sound as I could be standing right here. You put me on a bike, I lose control of everything. Like I am a control freak to where you want control taken away from you constantly, whether it's or decisions taken away from you.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to motor vehicles,
it's very different for you as compared to like when I'm like, what do you want for dinner? And you're like, I don't care, put food in front of me. Yes. As long as I don't have to make a decision, I'll eat it. Compared to me, as I would, with food, I can kind of survive like that. But in a general day to day, I am more of a controlling person. Like at work, we just took personality tests, and apparently I have an RBF and I'm unapproachable, and I like to call it leadership skills because I am very controlling and abrasive. I don't know who picked this personality test that we all took, but it was pretty much the rudest one I've ever gotten feedback on.
That's good.
Very independent, very self-sufficient. Like, I don't like working in teams, like all these things. And like, even if you reflected into like my fitness hobby, like powerlifting, it's all me. I don't like depending on other people. Like when we do group stuff, it doesn't matter because it's not like competitive. It's not consistent. It's very like erratic and short term. But it's like, it's nice that I go in there and powerlifting, like only what I do matters. Like no other, like, there's environmental factors, but like I don't have to worry about if someone else had a bad day, that sort of thing. So like I'm a very independent, grounded, feet on the ground, want control of my surroundings to where you put me on a bike and I feel very vulnerable, extremely vulnerable compared to apparently for some people, it almost feels like a sense of power, which is mind blowing to me that it's almost like a flip.
Define that. What do you mean by sense of power?
Not a sense of power, but it gives them a sense of calm. It gives them a sense of peace, that they're okay with the fact that they don't have control over all the environmental factors, to where I'm like, I get on that, I'm going to be either too hot or too cold. Those are my options. There's no other options. I'm not going to be comfortable. It's going to be too hot or too cold. Something's going to hurt. Something's going to scare me. Like, I'm going into it with like all of these defense mechanisms. Like, I am overstimulated when I get off. It could be a half-hour ride around the block, and I need to be left alone because I was in hyper overdrive of like survival mode. And the fact that like people get on and are able to turn their brains off, what a gift. Because I'm not going to call it like, you could, I mean, certain people without hearing this in context would be like, oh, that's dangerous. But like, I get it though. Like, that's why I watch reality TV. Like, it's the only time I can honestly say that my brain shuts off. So next time I'm watching reality TV,
it's like motorcycling.
Just imagine me on a motorcycle and it will make sense.
Okay.
I'll put a fan so it blows my hair in the wind. Basically same, and I can't explain it. I don't know why it happens. But for some reason, it just works for me. Like, that's just where my brain shuts off. If you watch reality TV, you'll understand why it's pretty horrible. But
watch enough, it does shut your brain off.
I know. See, you say that, and I could say the same thing, like,
I know.
about bikes or whatever else. But, I mean, obviously too much of anything isn't, it's all about balance. But
sure, everything in moderation.
Yeah, I guess that just goes, like I said, as with many things, like, I know that I have friends with ADHD who can't drink coffee or caffeine because it actually makes them tired, like the reverse.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just puts perspective on things, that it's like, it just kind of makes things make sense to an extent.
Yeah.
And they did a pretty good job, like, kind of just explaining the differences to them, because they had one or two people who chimed in on that were actually autistic too. Two. So that's more of a spectrum that I'm less familiar with, because there's so many different types of autism that I feel like I understand ADHD a little bit better, because it seems like the symptoms are a little more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what symptoms you pick up. There's definitely, I think, overlap to some extent as far as like hyperfocus.
But I guess you can go on your rant now.
Okay. So I will say, I was listening to that while driving. I think between work and a customer's house or something. And I was not expecting that topic to come up. And I felt very seen. And I had a moment of like almost overwhelming joy in the sense of like, do you remember the first time we went to Vintage Days?
We were there for a day.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. And there
It
was a
probably
moment
hot and gross.
when we were crossing the bridge to the infield where it was just bikes everywhere.
Oh, we had to wait for them to cross.
And I'm like,
these are my people.
These are my people. Like, I have found the promised land.
The shirtless hooligans on the pit bikes.
Like,
those are my people.
No, not just them, but like, it's the same thing that happens whenever I get to go to tech conferences or InfoSec conferences where I'm like, these are my people, right? And it felt very much like that while I was listening to that segment. Because they understood or they described why I enjoy writing so much. Why, like, you acknowledge that there are times that I need to just go for a ride.
Well, sometimes you don't even know it. And that's the annoying thing is sometimes I think you need what you don't even know you need. Like, once it's for some reason you struggle with initiation.
Sure. But like, and it's obviously probably self-medicating on some level, but like,
I think it's hard to start anything when you're tired.
Well, no, I'm just saying like, there are people that definitely self-medicate with motorcycling in the sense of like, they do it because it makes them feel good, or they get the dopamine rush or the adrenaline hit, and like they're doing it because they have some deficit that should probably be treated in some way. Well, but they use motorcycling to get through it.
The dopamine thing, I would not be upset if you got help with that.
I will say, though, I very much tracked with... I guess let me say it this way. You know how you get annoyed because I'll have like music playing and the TV on and be on my computer?
Yeah, it's like complete sensory overload. Yeah. It like
But I'm aware of all of it.
Yeah, like you have multi-tracks to your brain. I just don't. Yeah. I mean, I have like maybe 2. It depends on what I'm doing. But depending on what I'm doing, I have to be all in. Yeah.
Like there are times that I will have music playing, a YouTube video on TV, a different YouTube video on my computer, and maybe reading in another tab.
And that makes me want to throw up.
And like... It's just what's going on at the moment.
And I'm trying to talk to you and you're like, I don't know why I'm not going to remember this tomorrow. Obviously you don't say that, but... Yeah.
But that is kind of why I think on some level I enjoy motorcycling, because I'm so like, there's a benefit to it as a motorcyclist because you are aware of everything going on around you. Mm-hmm. To a super acute level, right? It is why I think I've mentioned to you at times, you'll hit, this is going to sound dumb. I think it kind of ties in. I think there was a scene in Ford versus Ferrari where they talked about like hitting a certain RPM or whatever. But there are days where you're just on a bike, at least for me, where everything's just hitting right. Bike's feeling good, music's good if you've got music on, temperature's good, the wind's good, and like, I'm not someone who would fall asleep while riding.
Yeah, but
if I could replicate that, I would sleep so good.
The ultimate like inner peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in a way that I don't know that I've ever experienced anywhere else, where I'm just like, this has got to be as close to heaven on earth that as anything exists, right? So, yes, I very much identified with that segment. The whole, like, it is my zen, and it's not because it necessarily turns my brain off. I do a lot of good thinking when I'm on the bike, but I think that's because the section, like the parts of my brain that are constantly looking for stimuli, like have them at that moment. Right?
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about what cars are doing, who's changing lanes, like what's the traffic pattern, what unexpected thing is going to happen ahead of me.
It's kind of like you have like an automatic, like let's say 5-track mind, and each track needs a purpose.
Yes.
And if you don't give it a purpose, you fill it with something squirrely or random or like something completely
or
random.
Just uncomfortable sometimes.
But if you can fill those with intention, it gives you almost like a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But I think the key is like step number 1 is like understand it. And step number 2 is like, how do you cater your life to that, lean into it and acknowledge your weaknesses and make sure that those are taken care of. Because I think that's like where our challenges come from. It's like your strengths are great, but if we could find a way to balance your weaknesses and make those like not a pain point for us, we would both be in the ultimate zen of like things. You just have more space for everything else. Like, but I think, okay, well, if that's something you need, like you almost have to schedule it in, unfortunately. Like, how do you make time for that? How do you force yourself over that speed bump of getting started? Like, and I think a lot of those things you say are the same things that like I'll get from going to the gym. There are some days like the weights feel a little lighter, like, well, and everything just aligns, like the food you ate, you're feeling good. Like you go there and it's not too hot. Like everything just aligns and you're done and you're like, wow, I did that. Like, and you have a sense of like pride. Yeah.
Well, and I think to some extent, like, your gym time kind of aligns with my garage time because there is that like sense of accomplishment. This is done. Like, wow, I just did that. And it gives me a bit of what I get from being on the bike of like, I can have the podcast in the background, occupy one portion of my brain and be working on something else, and gives me that bit of sensory overload to some extent. But yeah, the other thing I'll say is they brought up the whole dopamine benefit and people struggling with depression. And I will say there have been times that I have struggled with depression. And if I could have forced myself onto a bike at those times, it probably would have helped.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22.
It is, right? Because also I know mentally I probably shouldn't be on the bike.
Yeah, if
just from the
not feeling the body-mind connection.
Yeah. Yeah, but ultimately it was a phenomenal discussion. I encourage everyone to go listen to it. You should listen to the whole episode because if you don't listen to Motorcycles and Misfits, it's a wonderful podcast.
It's long. I was really surprised. I opened it up. I was like, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You need to listen to some shorter podcasts so your bar is lower. That's where you're getting all these, like, we need a podcast at least an hour. And I'm like, can't we just, like, check in? Like, no.
No, you can't cover anything in depth in less than an hour.
Sometimes there's nothing to cover. I just want to, like, check in. I've got podcasts that are, like, you just want 30 minutes.
I'm here. See you next week.
No, but sometimes they're just like, hey, here's what's going on.
I think
like
there's
a brief
room
version.
for those podcasts.
But
it's also not what I'm trying to produce.
I know, but you could have like quick and dirties or something, like, or you just like, is that a good name?
Well, I talked about maybe doing those and doing like a long format every other week or something. But first we have to finish building a motorhome, go to Vintage Days, and then have time to mentally recover to be able to produce episodes more than one episode ahead of time. So
it's true. Well, if you're doing them by yourself, get on it. Get over that speed bump.
Yeah.
You need to get riding too.
But if I cannot encourage you to listen to the entirety of the episode, it was episode 580, titled What's in Neil's Noodle? And that segment starts at the 24-minute mark. But yes, if you haven't listened to it, or if you haven't already went to go listen to it from me mentioning it at the beginning of this section, pause, go listen to it.
It'll never come
Especially
back.
if you feel like you're anywhere on the neurodivergent spectrum.
Or even if you're not, I think it helps to kind of just...
If you have someone in your life...
understand the differences of people. I feel like that's where like so many of the problems come in the world. It's just like not taking the time to understand and listen to people who are different than yourself. So...
Yes, as much as sometimes we have difficulties between us because of our differences, I think it is a benefit a lot of times.
Yeah, if you can find a way to balance that, but also like you have to be able to articulate, communicate, and appreciate your differences and how to utilize them. I think figuring out, first you have to acknowledge what they are, and then second you have to be like, okay, well, let's make sure you're utilizing your strengths first of all, but like how do we compensate for your weaknesses? Like, can I pick up that, or is this something that neither one of us like to do, and we need to find like a third party or a better solution on how to avoid this like a cumulative slack or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, I think that can be applied in any relationship, and that was the whole point for this work insulting personality test. I'd like to read the other like sections because there was like 4 sections of this. And I want to know if I was just like in the rude section or if they were mean to everybody about the descriptors. I was really offended, but
did you read it with RBF?
Probably. I've actually had people come up to me or like message me because they don't know I'm going to say it to my face. People message me on Instagram.
You're having a bad day.
From my gym and tell me I look unapproachable. Multiple people have told me that.
Which I also find hilarious because, one, how nice you'll be to random people.
I love random people.
And you've also had random people approach you.
Oh, people are like, I can just tell you can take a joke. And they'll like come up and like start talking to me. And I'm like, you're not wrong. But all the people that kind of know me are afraid of me. But the thing is like, because of my hyper, almost self-awareness and like my hyper attentiveness may not happen in the same way that yours does. Yeah. But I have very strong, like, I am very observant. I know you don't think that. Like, if I let my guard down, I'm a space cadet. But in certain places, when I'm walking the dogs, we have 2 small dogs that could be eaten by a hawk at any moment. I can hear a leaf drop from a tree. Like, when I'm in survival mode, I am hyper aware. When I'm in the gym, I'm pretty much surrounded by people. Granted, none of them are a threat. But I am very consistently aware out of the sake of respect who's got headphones on, who's counting, who's taking breaks, because I know we do paced things. If someone's doing like something that's every minute on the minute, they don't need you talking to them. Yeah. If someone's in a zone and they're listening to their headphones and they're not making eye contact, you do not go up and talk to them. Yeah. There's like certain etiquette that I try really hard to respect. I don't talk to anyone with headphones on unless they make eye contact.
I love social contracts. They've all decayed. Oh, we've lost so many general social contracts.
Yeah. And you know that a lot of the people who do lose, like there are people that will like literally talk to anyone at the gym. They're generally kind of crazy. People who aren't paying attention. Like it's one thing if you're like out in the world and maybe there's like an assumed role or whatever. But when you're in the gym and someone has headphones on and they're not making eye contact with you, do not talk to them. So I am just very careful. And sometimes I wear headphones so people don't talk to me. Yeah. Gyms and airports. 2 places to put on headphones whether or not you're listening to anything. Half the time I don't have anything on. Don't tell them.
Okay. Anything else before we move on?
No, but I wish you could just like take a dopamine pill to get your hit instead of like starting new hobbies and buying things. But
Listen,
you know, in due time. That.
My hobbies have really they
fizzled down the last couple of years. Yeah. But I'm just saying when they were talking
Half
about
of it was just you getting to experience my Lupin hobbies with me the first time.
Maybe it's just that bell curve. Yeah. It's that curve of me being like, oh. And we bought a house and you had room to expand. You're just like a goldfish. You grow as big as your environment allows. Yeah. It's dangerous.
It has been hot.
Yep.
Unreasonably so.
90s I know the Midwest is icky.
90s with like heat indexes into the hundreds. I know the West Coast is going through it right now. This is a reminder to hydrate.
Drink your water.
Yeah. I bring this up because we lost a rider in Death Valley.
You're saying we as in
the motorcycle
world.
Community.
Yeah, okay.
ADV Pulse had an article on this.
This is insane.
Me. What?
It soared to 128 degrees in Death Valley on July 6th. Yeah. There's actually a sign in this picture, which I'm assuming is correct, like accurate. Stop sign says extreme heat danger, walking after 10 a.m. Not recommended, and apparently it'll just burst into flames.
Yeah, tourists have been flocking to Death Valley in the past few days to a weekish.
How'd you do that in July?
Because they're literally taking pictures with like holding thermometers that show like, 120, 130, 100 and whatever.
Silly. Right? Is it for the TikTok?
Yeah, I guess.
I hope not. It's not worth it.
But yeah, one person passed away. Another member of that group was rushed to Las Vegas for advanced medical care. Another 4 riders were treated and released on site. You just got to be aware of yourself. Like, it's hot.
And there's nowhere to go. Like, when you decide you've had too much, there's no relief. Like, there's no trees. It's not like here in the Midwest where you're like, I'm hot, I'm going to retreat. Like, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. And as someone who knows I'm not good about hydrating, like, I've read up enough on hydrating to know, like, how to try and fix my deficit sometimes. You cannot hydrate like 12 hours before an event.
Oh, it's like days before.
Yes,
like when you
days.
I mean,
days.
To an extent, when you're riding something, you are an athlete. You need to look into how athletes prepare. Mm-hmm. And there's probably like dietary things you should be doing, you know, like certain foods you don't want to eat because they're diuretics. Like you're going to lose too much liquid.
Especially if you're going into an area like Death Valley or anywhere with exceptionally high temperatures, like most of the U.S. has had at different times over the past few weeks. But if you're not aware and you ride a motorcycle, which I will just kind of be astounded to some extent. So in the winter, at least in Ohio, we're aware of something referred to as the wind chill, right? Mm-hmm. The summer version is kind of the heat index. But the reason a wind chill works is basically we're extracting heat away from us as wind moves past us. On a motorcycle, that effect is amplified because we're riding faster, so more wind is moving past us. It works in reverse as it gets hot.
Yeah, it says after 99 degrees.
Yourself. Yeah.
Well, this is ambient air provides no relief. I'm sure like moving hot air is just going to cook you faster. If you've
never ridden hot weather and been like, man, the faster I go, I feel like I'm in a blast furnace.
Yeah, then you're right. Yeah, you probably really are.
So, drink more water.
You can get like Camelback backpacks and stuff. Although, I don't know, like if your blood just gets too hot, I'm not sure how much water can help, but it can't hurt.
Sure. But if whether you feel dehydrated or not, like drink some electrolytes.
Salt.
You're
in the desert. Find some salt.
Well, I'm not just saying in the desert. Like, there's heat waves going on all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to Death Valley, prepare. It's called Death Valley for a reason, right? But just a bummer. Heat sucks.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of things that athletes do that you could probably borrow from. Not the apparel, but preparation.
Yeah.
Supplements, that type of thing.
Apparel to some extent.
Yeah, under apparel, but I'm saying still you're going to want to wear
stuff.
like safety stuff. And again, I don't know if it's too hot to wear safety stuff. Maybe you shouldn't be riding.
Yeah. Recalls before we get into the rest of the news. I did want to address heat at the top. We do have a recall this week. 2023 through 2024. Link will be in the show notes so you can get all the exact production dates and stuff. Honda CRF 50Fs, CRF 110F, CRF 125F, and the CRF 125FB have a recall because the left grip can detach. It appears to be an issue with the glue. They're thinking it's just shy of 41,000 units. I believe the number is around 40,700 units that have this issue. The Instagram comments are phenomenal. If you haven't checked them out, you should go check them out. A bunch of people along the lines of, if you can't handle losing a grip while riding, you shouldn't be riding a dirt bike.
Is that serious?
Yeah. Well, I think to some extent people are, but...
Yeah, that's actually a comment on here, and people are like, damn straight.
Yep.
I could just see them like snapping their overalls when they say that.
Yep. Yeah, a couple of people are like, the left grip's been loose on my bike for years.
Oh, you have a really good memory. They literally say that.
Yeah.
My 50 has been loose since 04. Still run it. Much easier to just re-glue the grip yourself. These people are toxic.
Yep.
Bring back race quads. Hairspray. Boom. Roasted.
Yeah.
Can we just read comments?
Yeah.
People are wild. Mm-hmm. Honestly, people are like the best content writers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good one-liners out there, you know? It's all in the comment section.
Especially in Honda recall post comment sections. So, yep. If you have any of those affected bikes, if you're not sure, double check. But I don't know. They're probably going to glue the grip back on or provide you glue. I don't know.
Lick it and stick it.
Yeah. Do you remember Ital Jet?
What? A towel jet?
Ital as in Italian. Ital Jet.
I'm opening one of the links.
Last
It
we
says
talked about
dragster.
them.
I don't feel like I've
Yes.
seen that many. Yeah.
Last we talked about them, we were talking about their 559.
I wondered why people could just randomly buy them or something now. And I said, why would anyone want to buy that?
I don't know.
That
maybe.
happened?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably. Ital Jet. Well, I wasn't going to lead with Ital Jet, but we're going to lead with Ital Jet. They are releasing a 700cc 6-speed manual scooter. The Ital Jet Dragster 700 Twin Factory Limited Edition.
So normally the number is like CCs.
Yep.
700 does not seem like a lot. Because you had a 1300. What was your
15.
Vulcan? 1500.
Yeah, but it depends on how it's tuned, but in the world of scooters, that's a lot.
Oh, that's true. I missed the whole scooter thing.
Yeah,
it
this
doesn't
is a
look like a
scooter.
scooter.
Well,
That's
it's
a
a
feisty
dragster.
scooter.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that changes everything.
Yeah. It's doing 68 horsepower at 8,500 RPM.
What's my car have?
More than that, but like 68
different
wasn't that
experience.
far off of where your Civic was.
Yeah, and a lot less weight.
Yeah, fraction of the weight. Pre-orders open Friday, July 12th.
I think I do remember talking about it because I asked you what makes it a scooter
Yeah.
as compared to a bike, and it looks like the wheels are smaller. There's like a lower step over.
Yeah.
It's more like body style.
Yeah, you start splitting hairs on what different
Tires look smaller, I'd say would be the biggest thing.
Yeah, but that's not always true.
Well, I'm just telling you
Scarabaeo's got big wheels.
it's a scooter.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean it has big wheels?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so according to their Instagram post and press release and all that fun stuff, pre-orders open Friday, July 12th at 4 p.m. Italian time, which is also known as Central European time or currently Central European summertime. But for some reason they said Italian time.
Italian time. Italian o'clock.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They have a limited edition version that's going to have like, I think it comes with different exhausts, different tires, maybe. I don't know. I'll just be excited whenever any of these crazy Ital Jets come to the U.S. Still
You want me to
waiting.
take a picture if I see one in person?
Yeah, because that would mean they're finally distributing them in the U.S.
I sent you a
Yo,
picture
what'd you send
of
me
a
a
monkey
picture?
the other day.
It was, yeah. Monkey and a Grom next to each other, both in high-vis gear.
Was that worthy reporting there, or was that unnecessary? I
Yeah, it
need to
was
know
worthy
what level of
reporting.
reporting I
Yeah.
need to be doing after I
Show
saw
me
like
any
the land
cool
bike
motorcycles
and.
if you acknowledge a motorcycle, I want to see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will report back.
Royal Enfield will be releasing their Gorilla 450 on July 17th. This is going to be the second bike with their liquid-cooled Sherpa 450 engine.
Sherpas, gorillas.
Yeah.
What a naming convention.
Basically, I don't know, scrambler-ish version of the new Himalayan 450. So if it's, I guess we'll see once they actually give us a date on the 17th. We've got pretty decent shots of it. They showed off pictures that were obscured by the Gorilla logo. A lot of shared bodywork. Right side up forks versus inverted forks that the Himalayan has, probably to hit a lower price point. But the numbers we've seen through like homologation data, it seems like the engine's tuned exactly the same way. I just saw, I wanted to go back and listen. I forget what prediction I made. I'll double check for next episode. I had made a prediction on when we would see the Himalayan 450 in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said around end of summer. And yes, I just saw, I think earlier this morning, Royal Enfield North America said the Himalayan 450 is coming in August.
Boom.
Royal Enfield also had a design patent leak for an electric motorcycle.
Oh, did you know that was happening?
We knew there was one kind of in the pipeline somewhere. I don't know if you remember. Well, the industry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't. My memory's kind of shot. So
Yeah, at EICMA, they showed off an electric Himalayan.
it's not the one that caught on fire, right?
No.
Someone needs to report on that. We need to look up and see what that was.
Or maybe it wasn't
Breaking
EICMA,
news.
somewhere. Yeah. So, depending on who you ask, it is likely for a launch in either 2025 or 2026. It's about 50-50 from what I've seen.
So far away.
Fairly classic styling. It's going to have looks like a girder style front end. Should be an interesting bike. See what kind of numbers they come up with.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I guess they lose. I feel like the engine is like an attractive part of the bike, and the way that all these electric bikes don't have them is kind of like a vibe killer. Like it just looks so flat.
Yeah. I would agree to some extent. Depends on the bike. On a exciting to me note, Moto Morini, their bikes have been pretty intriguing. We need to go find a dealer. I looked up Pony Power Sports, which is like the sales arm of Iron Pony, is supposedly one, but then they didn't have any listed on their site. I checked, someone else had them locally, but they only had like 3 bikes in stock. They have a couple adventure bikes, the Escape, but the Calibro or Calibro is kind of their cruiser, which is now available, but they are going to be releasing a bagger in August. And the MSRP is only $6,800.
Is it only called a bagger because it has bags on it?
Yeah.
Other than that, what kind of bike would it be?
A cruiser.
Oh, so that's just the name. Just means like how much stuff it has.
Yeah, typically a bagger's got
Can you take the bags off?
saddlebags, most of the time hard saddlebags, and occasionally, I guess not occasionally, most of the time a fairing of some sort. And then you get into a full dresser, which is going to have a trunk in addition to that. I don't know if these are removable. It's got a kind of shorter style bat wing-ish front fairing, some hard saddlebags. I really like the look of it. It's got a very kind of sporty baggerish feel along the lines of a Softail Lowrider ST or a Honda Rebel 1100T. But
what kind of bird is in their logo?
I have no idea.
Kind of looks like a.
What a question to ask me.
Well, I just was like looking, and I was like, wait a minute,
Isn't there
another Moto bird? And the Moto Guzzi is a bird. Thought it was an odd correlation. I tend to drift while you're talking about.
Let's see if I can figure out what bird is in the logo.
It looks like a very disappointed, possibly pirate falcon is what I would call that. Looks like he has an eye patch on.
The Morini logo standing in front of a golden eagle.
Oh.
Yeah. But
Not my favorite logo.
$6,799 MSRP with an unlimited mile 3-year warranty.
Unlimited mile, 3-year.
Yeah. First
Better get
off,
to riding that. That's a great warranty.
it is. That is a lot of warranty.
See how many you should make it. You can make it a challenge if you buy one. See how many miles you can put on it.
Yeah. What I think would be hilarious is Hops Adventure, who does a lot of like riding for charity, put 100,000 miles on, I believe it was a road glide in a year.
Holy cow! That's like he does is ride.
Yeah, he just crossed 200,000 miles on that same road glide. When he hit 100,000 miles,
I haven't even put that much in a car in my entire life.
Yeah, when he crossed 100,000 miles, he said, "What do you think a 1-year-old road glide with 100,000 miles is worth?"
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, he would make them rewrite this warranty in a heartbeat. But
better get one before he does.
Yeah, a 3-year warranty is pretty good, especially in the kind of like big bike world. meaning like not scooterish stuff. I want to see one. I'm excited for them to get here in August. I think I've said this before, mostly because I want to add an adventure bike. But
To the fleet?
A direct Vulcan replacement may be a Moto Morini bagger.
I don't think you can get rid of that bike.
It's got to, the Moto Morini's got to sound real good.
I think you'd have to buy the second bike first before you can decide whether you're going to get rid of the other one.
I agree. I'm going to have to fall in love with something more than the exhaust note of the Vulcan.
Yeah, and that's just like the best sounding bike you have.
It's so good.
I could name at least one other bike you should get rid of before you get rid of that one.
I'm sure at least one.
Hint, it's a potato.
I haven't even had the Sportster that long.
It sounds horrible.
No, you haven't heard it with the new pipes.
Sounds like it's going to die.
Nah, you haven't heard it since I put the new pipes on it and retuned the engine. It does not sound that bad anymore.
Okay, well, maybe you should ride it.
I will as soon as I get done with the motorhome, go to Vintage Days, have time to finish the front end on the Sportster.
Maybe you'll ride it this year.
Yeah. Maybe I should just get it down off the lift and just ride it with the way the front end is right now.
Ride it once.
See how the air
get
shocks
over
feel.
the virtual speed bump. Okay, on to the next thing.
Yamaha has patented a fake clutch for their electric motocross bike.
Does it do anything?
It simulates a clutch.
Simulate, so it actually does something, or they just put it on there because it's a habit of having one?
Well, yeah, most of these do something. They try and simulate the feel of a clutch. The issues, first off, I'm going to have to start like a scorecard of what company has a patent for a fake clutch or fake brakes or fake whatever.
Why are they even making patents still? Like, obviously they can all... If everyone has a patent, what's the point of a patent?
Well, because they want to make sure no one else can do it the way they're doing it. Because they're doing it different.
Well, everyone's doing it for the first time, though, too. So to an extent, that's valid, I'd say.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to do it in their own way and want to make sure no one else copies them. Here's the issue with Yamaha's approach. Their version causes the bar controls to be non-typical.
Ooh.
Because I think they're trying to do away with foot controls, which would be fine if it was optional. But if it becomes their standard design for this bike, well, we have the hump of getting people over ICE engines and on to electric engines or electric motors. That's a big hurdle to begin with. And now if you go, hey, so you know your left lever, that's normally the clutch? Well, it's not the clutch. Now this does have a clutch, but it's not the left lever. It's the tiny lever on the left lever.
Yeah, that's a whole user experience stuff. Like when you design websites or whatever else, it doesn't matter what's like cool and exciting to you if people can't find it when they need it based on their habits or like built-in intuition, which may or may not make sense. I'm not saying intuition makes sense, but if it's all you've ever known, you don't move where the X bar is in the corner. You don't do certain things. You don't make a submit button red. You just don't do things.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, diehards will adapt. Like, especially, I would say, like, younger riders may adapt who don't have, like, the years under their belt. But, I mean...
I think anyone can adapt. I just think they're giving themselves another hurdle. You're trying to adapt people into a new technology and going, hey, the controls are different.
I don't know if you can test drive them, but if you did, that would be, like, a red flag. You'd be like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
Well, especially because the lever goes from... The main lever goes from being the clutch to the rear brake. Right? So it's like
you don't want to
you're in the
accidentally
corner and you're trying to shift.
And you're stopping.
And it's like, sure, you're going to like miss the shifter that doesn't go there, but now you're going to lock up the rear brake when you go to grab the clutch. I don't know. CF Moto has patented a couple different designs for motorcycle seat belts, essentially. They're more like bars.
Like roll bars.
Yeah.
What it sounded like.
Yeah. Kind of like what, I don't know, closer to like an amusement park ride or fair ride.
Like it just holds you in.
Safety
It doesn't really
bar.
protect you. It's like, maybe just don't fall out when we spiral.
Yeah. But so half of it is aimed at trying to figure out how to deal with automated braking on motorcycles, which is just such a wild concept to me. I know we talked about it.
They haven't even mastered automatic braking in cars.
Well, I think it was Honda. We talked about patented moving panels on the bike to give the rider like feedback of, hey, we're correcting your steering this direction, right? Which that alone is kind of weird. Because when you turn a bike, it wants to lean. Mm-hmm. But the automatic braking, they're like, yeah, we should put bars there. So if we lock up the brakes, we don't eject the driver over the handlebars.
I don't know if I like that.
But they also are going to use it. And they're going to sense the angle of the bike. If the bike is like upright in a crash, they're going to try and like maintain you on the bike to utilize the bike's crumple, essentially. But if the bike's like leaned over, the bars would not deploy or would deactivate, essentially, to allow you to separate from the bike.
Just like, how does it know what you need?
Yeah. My favorite part of this, so this was a Cycle World article. The top comment was, those wacky, fun-loving kids. Who wouldn't want to buy a mainland Chinese motorcycle and trust their life to one?
Douche.
Yeah, I mean, CF Motos, at least seems like they've come a long way. If they're getting to the point that they're confident enough to start patenting stuff like this, especially if they get confident enough to start manufacturing stuff like this, I guess that says something to some extent. But yeah, automated steering and braking and all that stuff, with as widespread as it is in new production cars, it has not hit a saturation point on the roads yet. For it to get into motorcycles just, I don't know, feels like a big lift.
It's a big risk because I feel like they haven't mastered it in cars, but at least you're not going to, like, if you crash into something, there's a chance that the driver isn't the highest risk.
Yeah.
It isn't within the highest risk of everyone involved. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like on a bike, it's just such a different level of risk.
Janus,
mm-hmm.
or as the Cleveland Moto guys will say, Janus. They're going flat tracking with their Griffin 450 at Sturgis. They're building a Griffin 450 flat tracker. They're going to debut it at Sturgis. They currently have a YouTube series going. If you want to follow along as they build the flat track bike. They also have a page up if you would like to sponsor them. I think I looked, the cheapest sponsorship level was, I believe, $100. Let's double check.
That's not too bad. I spend that at Target quite easily.
Yes. The Proud Rambler level is $100. The highest level is the Founder level, which is $15,000.
Oof.
$15,000 due up front, $10,000 due when production begins. So I guess actually $25,000.
Yeah, it says Team Founders $25K on the page I'm looking at.
But you do get one of 3 limited edition Griffin 450 Sturgis flat trackers to be delivered in 2025.
Oh, you get an actual bike?
You do get a bike at that level. At least it reads that way.
Unless it's like Kickstarter. Oh, you should look into your Beeline thing.
Yeah, it should have shipped by now.
Heck yeah, it should have.
Let's see. Get towards the end here. An Aprilia Touareg 660 won the Africa Eco Race, which is also being referred to as, quote, the real race to Dakar. It does run from Paris to Dakar. It won not only the 650cc and over class, but the overall motorcycle class, which is fairly impressive because it was a modified production bike. So I think that's got to give them some type of bragging rights with their bike. And then to end with some weird news. Did you look at the last link?
I did. And I think I share sentiment with the guy who wrote the article.
Yeah. If you feel like you have a Russian military side-by-side / UTV sized hole in your life,
I think you should be talking to a professional.
apparently you can just go buy one in the U.S. because there's dealers for the manufacturer who sells the ones to the Russian military, and they just sell the same exact model to civilians.
And just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Well, see, I look at it more from a different angle. It's kind of ridiculous that, like...
It definitely seems like it should be like... what do you call...
It is not
like
robust
a
enough.
Well, not only that, it seems like... Why would Russia let them sell something in the U.S.? Like, this seems
because
complete,
I don't
like,
think it was
conflict of
designed for
interest.
them. It was more of a...
This
they
is what we
designed
make
this thing,
in this...
and Russia decided to buy them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like, though, if the Russian military was going to contract or buy something like that, they would buy exclusive sales and not let it be sold to a competitor. Like,
they would have to care and have money to do so.
It seems like they would have money. Maybe they don't care. Or maybe that person just isn't that invested. I don't know. To each his own. What did it say it was? 16, 18,000?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think we have a side-by-side hole in our life.
I think I have a larger house hole in my life.
Okay.
I think you need more. Actually, I don't need a bigger house. But if you're going to want more stuff, you need a bigger garage. Maybe more land.
Yeah.
Land that doesn't need upkept. I say land,
no, it does, because then I can get my big diesel tractor with a brush hog and a bucket. Yeah.
Tim Allen.
Yeah, Tim the Toolman Taylor. That's not even a good one.
It's not a good one. I can't do it on cue.
No.
It's too much pressure.
Yeah. That is one of her hidden talents.
It's not really a talent. Don't ever ask me to do it.
It is a talent. It is fantastic.
I think you're the only one who's lightly entertained by it or has ever heard it. Probably shouldn't have done it. I'm embarrassed now.
Yeah.
Luckily, hopefully, maybe someone didn't make it to the end to hear that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, we should have at least one more episode before Vintage Days, maybe two.
Yeah. I'd really
Depending
like to
on
get
what
to
cadence.
We'll see. Yeah.
Well, it just sucks because, like, this camper really does need a lot of our time.
Yeah.
And we have jobs, unfortunately, depending on what those lottery tickets upstairs have revealed. So we currently
depending
have
on how
jobs.
those lottery tickets went, you may get 10 episodes before Vintage Days.
As of today, we still have jobs because we need them.
Yeah.
And a camper that needs polished. So we'll see what time allows, but we will do our best. You can follow us on Instagram. You're underscore Motohop? Motohop underscore?
Motohop underscore.
I'm Ms. Motohop.
Yep.
I'm
you
not
have a
sure.
dot in there?
I can't remember.
Oh, boy. Let me look.
I think there is a dot in there. Believe it or not, there is no other Ms. Motohops. There wasn't a lot of competition for the screen name or the handle.
No?
I know.
I'm shocked.
I know.
It is ms.motohop for you.
There we have it, folks. And then hopefully maybe we'll have a little bit of swag at Vintage Days. No promises. But if you see us, the least you could get is a sticker.
Yeah.
We do have stickers.
We will have stickers on tap. Both probably a handful of like purchasable stickers and probably some freebies.
Yeah, maybe may or may not have purchasable ones. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
we'll
just
see.
Depends on the weather, depends on whether or not we want to carry them around. We'll definitely have stickers to remind you to go to Etsy to buy your own stickers.
Yeah. Just printed out 2 orders earlier.
I think we still have shirts alive from Vintage Days last year. Those are very relevant still.
Yeah.
Maybe if we have the time and energy, something else, but no promises.
You're not even going to mention it?
I don't want to get people excited if it doesn't happen.
Okay. I guess maybe we'll know by the next one if it's going to happen or not.
Suspense. Now I have to listen to the next one. See what I did there?
Yeah. I'm sure that was fully intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, follow on Instagram. You can watch us fail our way through this motorhome.
We're not failing. I haven't failed anything yet.
No,
Don't
not
put that
yet.
negativity out into the world.
Not yet.
Crushing it.
Yeah, probably a live tweet /
Live tweet.
well, the live
Minus the
Instagramming-
Twitter part.
Yeah, well, live Instagram the journey to Mid-Ohio, just in case.
Yeah, you've been better at documenting it because you're more invested in some of the like big picture items, and I go back and
to at least
forth.
take progress pictures.
I go back and forth on whether or not I want to like share things. I want certain people to know, but there's other people that I'm like, I don't know if I want it to be like my full identity, so I tend to veer away from like reporting on certain things. Plus, you just have more pictures. I haven't taken pictures of most of it, but I'll take pictures of what I do. The painting, the pretties.
I think it's fantastic. It's a giant fucking, well...
Hopefully your kids weren't listening.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's a giant box on the back of a truck.
I'm pretty sure you can hear swear words like on the daily news now at this point, so kids are fine.
Is a giant box on the back of a truck converted into a
tiny
house.
home. It's basically
It's fantastic.
a tiny home cabin situation.
Yeah.
It is quite cozy. It's probably like honestly the ideal layout. I love the layout.
Yeah.
There is actually a decent amount of room. You can stand up without hitting your flat top, which was huge. I feel
There's
like
just, you don't have
the
to
ceilings
think
are
about
probably
anything
taller
because-
than our house.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know about that, but they're tall.
Yeah.
They're exceptionally tall for a camper. That's
Very
not like a
comfortable.
multi-level fifth wheel with a drop frame.
It's actually insane on how much difference that makes. I would say if there's one thing we could even do in our house, it would be to raise the ceilings to make it feel bigger. Like the house itself is fine. But if I wanted the like general vibe of a bigger area, all I would say would be like raise the roof. Like that would make it feel bigger without obviously that's not worth the expense. But like hypothetically, like the best thing you can do to make an area feel bigger is give it more headspace. And this is so comfortable to stand in.
Yeah, I mean, you open the door and it literally is just a small apartment on wheels.
Yeah. And did you say like it's made so you can take it off with a like truck frame supposedly, right?
The only exception is going to be the black tank.
Well, of course.
With the exception of the black tank, it is literally all contained within the box to the point where the box could be unbolted, lifted off, and transferred to a new frame or just placed on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And just operate.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether we shift it over to a different frame or
drop it off on our new property where you have a larger garage and more space.
Yep.
You just never know.
You never know.
All right, you good?
Depends on how those lottery tickets go.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's an episode.
Yep. Bye.
See ya.